I can't believe the season's already here. I'm so excited because last year it didn't really feel like a season until the very end. So I can't wait to feel McHale tomorrow. I know it's not going to be like a regular game, but just the fans there, like for our players, and just start everything the way, like kind of getting back to some normality. So I'm just excited for Tucson. I mean, we're almost 6,000 season tickets sold. So I can't wait to see McHale at 10, 15,000 people. It's going to be so much fun. And I think everybody's going to really love our team.
Open the floor for questions. Start with Troy. So for the freshmen that were on last year's team that hadn't had that experience in playing in a sold-out McHale, what did you tell them about that? What's that environment like?
Maddie's kind of aware because she had been to games. She's from Phoenix, so she's seen it. It's hard. You can't really put it into words. I think they have to experience it. But we just talk about how much more energized you are. Like you feed off the crowd, and but Maddie's kind of aware. I think Anna Gret, being from Estonia, she's probably only played in front of maybe like 1,000, 2,000 people max. And typically at some of those games in small leagues, you have like 50 people. So she's going to be like, wow. So all the running will make her wish she's not in America, but then that kind of stuff will she'll be happy she's here because of that. Lauren, technically she could be a freshman again because of COVID, but she's experienced it. She's seen it. She's been to games when it was full. Nettie has not ever experienced that. So she's going to be probably really nervous, but she's doing awesome. Gisela, it's going to be new. Gisela came from Spain, so similar situation. But she's played some international competition at high level, but it's still not 15,000 people. Who am I forgetting? Yes, I think everybody else is, Araya. I don't think Alabama drew the same as us, but, she's an experienced vet. Coy, it's going to be different. I think that if you think of the venues that draw 10, 15,000 people, there's probably 8 in the whole country. So they're going to be excited, and I think, I don't know. I don't know what to expect tomorrow, though. I think probably 5,000 or 6,000 people. I think as some people are unsure, like, okay, do we go? Like, how you feel in crowds. That's why I'm kind of hesitant when I went to a WNBA game. I'm like, ooh, half the people don't have masks on. But so I think it's just people are kind of uncertain. But I think you'll see, especially as more vaccines come out for kids and stuff, I think you'll see the crowds grow bigger and bigger.
How long do you think it will take you to get your rotation settled?
I'd say a few weeks. Because right now we are so deep. Like I've never had a team where no one's bad. It's funny because Coy said to me, she's like, no one sucks on the team. I'm like, yeah, no. But I thought about that. I'm like, because most teams you're like, okay, these 2 or 3 people, it's going to take a few years for them to play. Like they can't play. We don't have anybody like that. So as a coach, it's like, wow, there's so many different combinations. I was even thinking about starters, and I was like, I can go different ways. There's experience way, there's an athletic way, there's a more of a shooting. So I think it's going to take a few weeks. Right now, we're trying to work different combinations and practice. So that's why I like the 2 exhibition games. It's not going to be against the level of play we're going to face in a few weeks, but I think just getting the rotation and kind of seeing how people perform together on the court in an actual game is good. But we have lineups to play really solid defense and press. We have lineups that can really spread the floor, and we can put 4 shooters on the floor. And we have lineups where we can play really big and pound the ball inside, and we never had that before. So we've never had so much depth and talent. And like on this team this year, there's going to be 3 or 4 players coming off the bench that could start. So it's going to be interesting to see how everybody adjusts to a different role, because every single person is going to adjust to a different role. That may be not starting when they're used to starting, or, and I don't really put so much stock in starting because, last year, Shayna coming off the bench, Shayna could have been a starter. So I think we're going to have a really good team off the bench that could start. So I think we're just deep. I think.
So with that depth, are you thinking about doing when you substitute, will you substitute full lineups, or will you just do a couple people at a time like you typically do?
Yeah, in exhibition, you'll probably see full lineups. I'm looking for different groups. If that's going to be unique. I don't sub like that normally. I don't. I mean, 15 people won't play. It's very hard. I feel like as players, you don't get to a rhythm. We should go deep, but I think it's very difficult when you're a coach and you're trying to give everybody equal. I just don't think it ends up working. Um, so different people have different roles, and I think the main thing is I have to do what's best for the team, and we need to win. So tomorrow you will see probably in 5, but that's not how it'll be. Like it's not going to be like that. Like when the real games start.
Obviously, having depth is great, but how big of a challenge is it for you as a coach to figure out how to maximize that depth?
It's a huge challenge, but it's fun. Yeah, it's a huge challenge because there's so many different ways, and I can have 7 different lineups. So you know, I think a lot of it we had so much experience. We could start with returners just because they know the system better. There's so many variables, I think, that make it, but I don't think people need to put so much stock on starting, because some people may start because they're really good at beginning the game. Some people may start because they're better at looking than coming in and being a spark off the bench. So I think there is a challenge though, because you know, coaches always say on every team there's always 10 unhappy people because you have your starters, and then usually out of starters, even if they play a lot, this is how every kid is and how I was too. If you play 35 minutes, you think you should have played 40, and you don't want to come out of the game. If you played 20, you think you should have played 30. So it's like hard to make people happy. So at the end of the day, you have to do what's best for the team, and you know, it's a challenge. It's a challenge because we have 15 people. I think, and our 15th person is good. So we'll see how that's the part of our job, to put the pieces of the puzzle together.
Expanding on that then, like how do you handle and balance egos and personalities?
We have great culture. The team does that. So I don't really focus on that stuff, because if you're worried about your ego and all that stuff, then you're selfish and you're not probably the kind of player we want. I think that it's always team before, you know, yourself. And our most important thing is to accomplish the mission and win. Like, that's what we're here for. That's why we work hard every day. So I always say to players, give me something I can't live without. So do something so great where I can't keep you off the floor. So Sam does that. Sam can have 0 points, and nothing will show up on the stat sheet, but she's locking someone down on defense. She's blocking shots. She's maybe tipping the ball that someone else gets for a steal. So you have to, it's your job to perform every day consistently, and then provide something that we really need, and that's how you play. Like, I knew I did that, and I think as a pro, I was never a good player. I was very smart, though. Like, I remember in the pros, in college, I never played defense. Like, I just didn't. I scored. I wasn't, like, focused on defense, which is probably selfish, but I was 17 to 20. But then in the pros, I remember the coach would say, Ann Donovan was my coach for a while, and she would say, you know, I need someone that's we need a defensive stopper. So I was looking around like, okay, like if you want someone, if that's what you're looking for. So I became this defensive stopper, and I had never really had played defense, but it was just the willingness I wanted to do something the team needed. And that was my role. My role was to give the ball to Lauren Jackson, and she could shoot over 2 people, and I was fine with that. And then I had to play defense, but I was willing to do whatever we needed. If the coach was saying at the time we need to rebound, I was going to be the rebounding machine that day in practice. It was just a mentality to give what the team needs. And I think people, when you're winning, it's a lot easier because you're winning. So when you're winning, it's hard to complain about playing time this and that because it's working. So I think that we're going to be successful, and people just have to perform. And it's not easy. As a coach, I wish I could play everybody equal. But I can't. That's the reality. And those are hard decisions. I do feel that sometimes, and which is hard for me. A lot of coaches don't, but I feel bad sometimes, and you know, but it's part of the job.
When you look at that point guard position, how has Shayna really developed there, and what do you see from that position this season moving forward?
Shayna's been amazing. She is completely different this year. Her work ethic, her attitude, her determination, her leadership skills, she's changed. And I think what helped change her was the experience in the Olympics, the World Championship and the Olympics. I think she grew a lot. I think she was humbled a lot in certain situations, but I think she saw what it takes to get good and to be better, and she wants to be a pro. So I'm really impressed with her. She's playing at a high level. You know, if she does the things she's capable of doing, we don't, because we're really going to miss Ari. Like, that's just a fact. Everybody knows that. But I think we have a lot better pieces around. We shoot the ball better. We do a lot of really good things that we didn't have last year. So we're a better team this year. And people don't think that yet, which is fine. But they'll see as we play throughout the year. But Shayna can do a lot of things that Ari can do defensively. So she's capable of pressing the ball and all that. She's capable of doing that. Now it's extracting that from her. That's our job. But she can do that. So then we're not missing that piece. Yes, we're missing, you know, Ari can weave through anybody. She's so fast, but we also shoot it better. I mean, Ari would have loved to play for this team because now we have a lot of shooters because last year everything was congested. But, yeah, I think Shayna's doing a really good job. I think she'll have a good season.
Sam getting nominated, you know, on the watch list.
Yeah.
How big of a deal is it to see her get that kind of recognition? Because a lot of people don't hear about her.
Yeah, well, she's finally, I think it took us going to the championship game for people to recognize her. And it wasn't her best performance throughout the tournament, but she's been consistent all year. I think it's about time. It took 5 years for people to respect her. But I think it's long overdue. Sam is great. She's one of the best defenders in the country, extremely underrated. But she does a lot of other things well. So you're going to see a more aggressive, confident, and different Sam, too. Completely different. Her leadership is even better. She holds her teammates more accountable, and that's the culture we've established here. But she's excited. She's wants to win. Like, we didn't win last year. We got far. Yes, it's great, you know. But we don't have a championship trophy, so they want to win. And I think that she's willing to do whatever it takes. And Sam is one of those players that if you said, Sam, your role is going to be playing 8 minutes a game, she'd be like, she wouldn't complain, wouldn't be talking about transfer. Like, she would just say, okay, whatever the team needs. Like, it doesn't, that's the kind of person and player she is. And that's the kind of player I want to coach.
What does it mean for the program now to have Sam and Taylor up for these big awards? I know that in the past it was Ari the last couple of years, but now so far you have two. There are more lists coming out. There might be somebody else on those lists. But as a program, what does that mean, and how far does that show that you've come?
I think it shows the difference in the program, obviously. It shows that we have more weapons. I think more people will be added to those lists in a couple days. I think it's just, we have came a long way. Like, we weren't good, and now we're a good program. And I think now it's interesting because we're at this point, and like I try to explain in recruiting, like, so we went to the championship game. We did well, okay, but we lost. So now, like, the recruiting consistently is against, you know, the UConns, the Stanfords, all the cream of the crop. But, like, UConn's won 11 championships. Stanford's won multiple. So you're at that point where you're competing for all those great kids where there's, like, 5. And then it's like you need those kids to win a championship. But it's like, who's going to come and be that person that's the trailblazer? So, like, you know, UConn years ago got the Connecticut kids, Rebecca Lobo, and they started to build something special. And then now some kids want to go to South Carolina and, like, do something special. So we're at that point now, getting a couple more players that can come here and help us win a championship and want to do something different than someone else that's won multiple times. They want to come here and help us win, a lot like why Ari came and why Kelsey went to Washington. They came to blaze their own trail. And we have some really good pieces. And I mean, if you look at our class next year, I mean, they haven't signed yet, but we have some really good players coming in. And then we're going to have some more super seniors that I'm not talking about yet. So we're going to have a really good team. And so getting those couple pieces that take us, like, above to the next threshold. And that's kind of, because if you take someone below and develop, you don't win that championship. So I think it's just that gray area. It's hard to explain. But it's competitive. And so who is going to be that next person? And I have a couple people in mind that are capable of doing that here. But I'm here to win a championship. I'm not here to be, like, 5th in the Pac-12. Like, that's not what I'm here for. So, you know, I'm here to win. And so finding the right pieces to win, but I think that helps with recruiting. And it shows that our program's good. I mean, I think years ago, even to be multiple years, like, this is our 3rd year now being ranked, like, that was, I don't know if that's happened here 3 years in a row. I'm not sure, but I don't think so. Maybe when I played. So we're just like, but now I think the standard is so high. When you're 22nd, it's like, You know, it's like, oh, that sucks. You know what I mean? But it's just funny how you get greedy. It's like, if we just made the tournament, it would be an awful season. So I think the standard's so high, it's like we're ranked 22nd like we expect to be. It's not even like, if you look 3 years ago, we'd be like, we're ranked 22nd, we're the top 25. Like, it's just so different, and the standard's so high. So you feel that, which I love, because, like, you know, like, I think last year at some point we started low at 17, and then we climb. So, and for me, that's rewarding because I see where the program came from. And I also, if you look last year, this time we didn't look good. I mean, think about it. You guys watched us. We were okay last year, but then you saw us in January, February, we were a much different team. So our process takes time. Like, we don't look good right now. But it's like, we're going to look better in the Pac-12. Like, it just takes months, and we have a lot of new people. So I'm fine with that process because I'm going for long term. So, you know, and we're still young. So.
Remind us again how an experience like the Olympics can help a player evolve and grow.
So having an experience like the Olympics, World Championships, it changes a player because, first of all, they see the level it takes to be there. I think it was eye-opening for Shayna because she played with a lot of vets who had really high standards, who, like, lead Canadian basketball, Canada basketball. So, like, some of her vets were probably with the national team 20 years. So their standards are really high, and their love for their country and the team is really high. So when you have players like that, like if you think of in USA, like Lisa Leslie's, you know, Sue Bird's, Diana, when you're playing with those players that have been there for so many years, you can't slip. You can't not be great with your team because, like, they're going to tell you in a second, that's not how we do it here. And so Shayna went through some of that because we talk about it. And so, you know, you can't do the bare minimum and be a part of that. So I think for her, it just changed her approach. I think she was able to see how those, like, vets act and was a part of it for months. I mean, they were on lockdown, just like we were together in Puerto Rico. I just got to see her a couple times and wave. But we were all on lockdown. That was a month. So a month of all that culture, I think it just showed her what leadership looks like. She's able to watch those captains that are great players like Kia. There's a lot of really good players. And I think it just humbled her and made her more hungry. And she saw what it takes to lead. And as a point guard, you have to be a leader. You can't be like a silent point guard. You can't not do the right things as a point guard because no one will follow you. So as a point guard, it's even more important to lead well. And you can't do things wrong and lead well. Not in our culture, you can't. So she changed a lot. Like, you'll even see, you'll see a change. Like, you'll even notice it externally just by the way she carries herself, by her confidence, by the way she interacts. You'll see a difference because it is different. And I think she also understands that last year she was behind Aerie, and that was hard. She had never been in a situation like that. I mean, sometimes I benched her. And I was okay with that. And people would say, why? And I just, because. But it's like, she now, I don't have to do that now. She's more motivated. I'm not Shayna, work hard. She's motivated. And so I like to see the growth. And she knows she has a chance to start on a good team. So I think she's excited for that.
You mentioned being picked to finish fifth in the Pac-12. Did that shock you by that? And how do you feel that? How do you use that to fuel your team moving forward?
I don't really care about the rankings because it really doesn't matter how you're ranked in the beginning. It matters till the end. I think we started off, you probably know better, 17th last year, 18th, and then moved up. Every single year in the Pac-12, we've been chosen lower than we finished except for last year. So ever since I've been here. So we've never gotten respect, which is fine. Last year we were chosen second, we finished second. But I don't really care. If I was looking from the outside in, I would probably think the same thing because you're losing an All-American who was the catalyst on offense and defense for us, so I would think the same thing. So for me, my job is to make sure we're getting better every day, and we're not looking ahead. We're not looking at we want to go to the championship. We are looking at how do we get better every single day and, like, narrow our focus like we did last year and not worry about that because everything takes care of itself. I don't feel like we'll finish fifth in the conference, but we could. I mean, at Washington, we finished fifth and went to the Final Four. So our conference is that good. But I think there's a really good teams. I think the challenge as a coach is on paper, things look one way, and getting all those pieces together, that's the challenge. But like, if you looked at our team last year, we were not close to being as talented as anybody in the Sweet 16. We played against teams every single game that had a lot more talent. We had one All-American. Most teams going from like the Elite Eight on had multiple All-Americans, multiple All-Conference kids. We didn't have a really solid post player, and we didn't shoot it well, and we still went to championship games. So we were playing good defense, and we played hard, and we believed. So I felt like if we can do that with the team we had last year, I think we have potential to be really good.
And then to follow up on that real quick, last season you guys didn't have the full non-conference. How much does it help you have that this year?
Yeah, it's funny, I forgot about that. Yeah, it helps a lot. It helps because last year, if you saw the beginning of the Pac-12, it was ugly. Like the team, we all looked bad. I think that you'll see better basketball because of the preparation. Like, having 11 to 13 non-conference games is a lot of improvement. So I think you'll see, but we open up in LA, so that's going to be a challenging. And it's funny because our second game of the year is against Louisville. So we have a very hard non-conference. Too bad Ryan's not here because he asks me every year about my non-conference. I used to get mad. I used to be like, because I wasn't going to have a hard non-conference and then go into the Pac-12, and it's like the gauntlet, we kill each other. So this year, it was impossible to get games. So some of it was not by choice. It was kind of by situations. So we're playing a lot of really good teams, and we're playing Louisville on a neutral court. We're playing Texas on a neutral court. We're playing Vanderbilt, Rutgers, DePaul on a neutral court. So we have a lot of really hard road games. So I'm curious to see how we're going to respond. And, you want to do well in the non-conference because if you don't have confidence, then you go into the conference, feeling beat up. So it's important to do well, but it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. It's the hardest non-conference we've had by far, hands down times 80. But I'm excited to see how we respond.
When you saw Coy's name in the portal, how quickly were you able to jump, and how did that process play out?
As soon as I didn't see it, but one of the assistant coaches saw it, and so obviously did some research, sent me some film, and I called her right away. I believe I called her in the tournament. It wasn't the Final Four, but it was the in-between days, I think. I called her and told her I think this would be a great place for her, thought she'd be a great fit. And we just connected and talked for I think a couple of weeks. And remember, Coy, Nettie, Anna-Gret, all of Araya, because of COVID, they didn't come to see Arizona. So typically, I would have had Coy and Araya come on a visit. They didn't come on visit, so they chose Arizona, not knowing the teammates. They knew nobody on the team, only knowing me, and for both of them. And Araya was going to choose another school, then decided to choose us. So they came, I think, I'm not saying because of me, because of Arizona. And I think watching us, I felt like they had a connection with me, but they did not know one teammate. And it's funny because I never thought about that till this year. I'm like, wow, they never came. They just came after talking to me. So I think, but the common theme was that all these teams watched us in the tournament, watched the way our team played, watched the way the coaches interact with staff, and they liked it. And I think they just wanted to be a part of that and play for something like that. And it was funny because when Taylor came in the portal, I was made aware she came in the portal, had contact with her, and she at first wasn't going to stay close to home, But it was funny because she said that we were the call she was waiting for, and I was like, really? I thought it was cool. She's like, yeah, and then talked about what she watched and what she loved. She was like, you were the call I was waiting for. I was like, well, you were the player I was trying to get when I first got to Arizona, and we weren't good enough. So I kind of laughed, but it was kind of cool. So the tournament made a lot of people just excited about Arizona, and a lot of players I think liked what we were doing as a team and a program. So that's been good.
We have time for about 3 more questions for Coach. We'll go Kim, Damien, and then Troy.
I want to get back to the Olympics and international play, both for Lauren and Shayna. When I talked to Shayna, she talked about Lisa, the coach, working with her. What is the effect of being in different systems? How does it help them? How does it maybe not help them?
I think that sometimes it's probably hard if it's drastically different styles, but international basketball is pretty good, and we do some stuff that's very similar, like spreading the floor where the forwards can shoot. I think it's probably easier for her because we have some European-like stuff. But I think It's probably a challenge if, like, let's say you go to a team that's only sags off in the paint. I think those habits. But I didn't see that with Shayna, and I don't feel like her team, I thought they played solid, hard defense. Canadian basketball is known for running a lot of Iverson. It's more pro, so there's quick hitters, but we do a lot of that. So I think, and I'm not saying this just because it's Arizona, but I believe we run a lot of stuff that's pro-like because I played in the pro, and it's just what I'm used to and like. So, and you have to have a balance of that because you can't have all quick hitters. You have to have some flow and stuff because they're college kids. They don't read like pros do. But I feel like our style is conducive to professional or European basketball. So the versatility, the fundamentals we work on, it's very similar. Like we're one of the few teams in the country that works on fundamentals every day, even during the season. So I think in that sense, I think she was probably more prepared for her Olympic team than normal. We probably are more physical and aggressive on defense because in college, like if you do some of that, those full court presses in the pros, you're gonna get like eaten alive. But I think she was prepared, and when I talked to Ari, she was very prepared. So that makes me feel good as a coach to know that like I put her in a situation where she was doing better than other people because I would get texts about her defense from like her coach and stuff. So that's something I take pride in because my job is to develop them to be their best and to play pro. That's their dream. So it's good when I hear Shane or I hear Ari, and they're prepared mentally, and they know how to read something. I mean, it's much easier for me as a coach to say, Greg, sprint down there. PJ, you only sprint on this side. Greg, you only run out this way. That's easier for as a coach. It's harder for me as a coach to say, okay, if the defense plays one way, do one thing. If the defense plays another way, do a counter to that. But you have to do repetition and teach that. And reading is hard and takes time. So they're prepared, and she was prepared. She had success, and it was funny because she was one of the most efficient players from the 3 and 2 in the World Championship. So she was happy. I was like, see all the shooting she did, it pays off. It shows. I mean, the work shows, and she's getting better. So.
When it comes to Shayna's leadership, have you seen parallels in her maturity to the same path that Ari took?
I just knew Ari a lot longer. I knew Ari since she was a sophomore in high school. So I think just the relationship initially was different. But I do see that in the sense of preparing to lead a team. Like knowing that you could be the point guard that leads a good team. I think with Ari and Shayna, there's more of motivation and more accountability to do things right. Like maybe, you're not making the same mistakes like you did 2 years ago. Like Ari, her work ethic every year, was completely different. Like she wasn't in here every day her freshman year or her sophomore year when she transferred. But then her senior year, she was every day because she was going to play pro. So I think you see that same motivation with Shayna, where she wants to get better, she wants to do well, and she wants to lead this team like Ari led the team. And she hasn't voiced that to me, but I see that and I feel that, and she's capable of doing that. So, she's communicating better. She's stepping out of her comfort zone, which I push and I want us to be better. And that's the main thing. And the whole team recognizes it and praises it. So, we appreciate that because that's what the growth is supposed to be. I mean, Kate's not supposed to be better. She's not supposed to be the same as last year. If Lauren's the same as last year, we're not doing our job. Like if Nettie, you should look at Nettie this year and you should see her completely different in her, her nonverbal language and verbal language. Like that should be different. Like Sam looks different than she did her freshman year, right? Like she carries herself. She was shy probably when you guys interviewed her. Now she is going to speak in front of Congress. So that is my job to do that because it's bigger than basketball. But when I see Sam, who is quiet, introverted, not saying stuff, shy, and I see her today with the Elite 90 highest academic athletic award and going to Congress and representing us awesome, I'm pretty proud of that. To me, that's bigger than even preparing to go pro.
For Kate, we're going to talk to her shortly, so I was wondering, how has she grown since that final game last season to this point now? Where have you seen the most growth?
It's stronger, more determined, has worked really hard in the off season. They all, because they want to be great. Much better leader, wants to lead the team. Kate's coming back next year too. So she wants to stay and do something special. So technically she'd be like a junior right now. I think holding our teammates accountable, not allowing people to not work hard or work as hard as they should, because we work hard every day, but work as hard as they should. And she's not afraid to lead. She's not afraid to talk about the difficult things. And I just see a more mature, better leader every year. And it's a big difference from last year. Kate always works really hard. And I think that what she's understood is, like, you can work hard, but pull someone else along, and she does that now. And I think, she's saying, hey, Nettie, let's go, or pulling Lauren along. And that's what it's about in this program. And we preach that. Like, if you're just working hard every day, like, it's okay. It's good. It's not great. But if you want to be a great teammate, you're working hard, and I'm saying, PJ, let's go. Let's go shoot extra. That's what we do. And that's what she does, and that's what's making us special. I think those little things separate our program, where we don't have to be the best, but we do all those little things, and we're going to be successful. Yeah, cool. Thanks.
How excited are you to get the season going and have the opportunity to have fans in McHale again?
I'm really excited. I think we're all super excited, especially some of the new people that haven't really experienced McHale and all their fans. So we're really excited to play a game and just put our jerseys on and play together against a different team for the first time.
Well, Adia says this team is deeper than ever. Can you sense that already, even though you guys haven't played a game, just like in practice?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're really competitive. We all want to win, and I think that it'll really show on the floor. I think we've said in the past that we've been deep, but I agree with what Coach Adia said. We're extremely deep this year. I think that we're going to have a lot of people playing and a lot of people in double digits, hopefully.
Who's been a newcomer that's impressed you?
I think Nettie, Coy, they've both showed they have a lot of strengths, completely different. But yeah, I think that Nettie's going to be really good for us in the paint, and she's grown so much already. So I know that people aren't going to be ready for her.
What's it like going up against other bigs? Because before it was just you, Lauren, Samaji, Trinity. Now you have a room full of skill and size in that area.
I think it's great for us. I think in the past, like you said, we haven't had as much height. I think Araya and Nettie give us a lot of strength and power in the post, and I think that's really going to help us. I'm excited to go out there and play with them. So I think that they're going to do big things for us this year.
How has that helped you progress this offseason?
I think it's made me have to use my quickness more. I can't really power up against them as much, so definitely making quick moves around them is helping me to prepare for non-conference and this conference season.
Okay, upon returning back from the summer, what have you witnessed and noticed about a change in Shayna's leadership?
I think she's kind of taken on the leadership. She actually wants it, I think, compared to when she first got here. She was a little more quiet. I think now she's taking on that leadership role, especially being more than likely our starting point guard. So I think that she has to take on the role, but she also wants to. She's definitely been more loud, more vocal, and I think we've really needed that, especially losing Ari. We need someone that's going to be our floor general, and I think she's really taken that on, and she's ready for it.
A change from?
Yeah, a little bit. I think she was just kind of more in the background a little bit, didn't really want to talk as much. So now she's being way more vocal than she has been, and it's been a great change for all of us.
Adia has said numerous times this fall, we're going to be better this year. When did that occur to you that was possible?
I think when we started official practice, you could really tell just the competition, and everyone here wants to win. We all want to go back to where we were last year and even better. So I think that gaining the people that we have and just kind of the expectations we have for ourselves is really kind of showed what we want to do this season, where we want to be, and we're playing hard. So I think that the non-conference schedule we have will really prepare us for, the end of the season and hopefully postseason. So I think that we're ready for the challenge. We definitely have to get a little bit of the pieces kind of connected more, but I think we're at a great point right now, and I think being able to play tomorrow and coming up in the next couple of weeks will show where we're at.
what was the experience like at the Pac-12 Media Day with you and Sam and Adia just being, the representatives and having that experience?
It was exciting, I think, especially because last year they didn't really have a Pac-12 Media Day. I think it was just airing on Zoom. So it was really exciting for me for my first time and Sam's second and last time just to be able to go together, especially because it kind of feels like we started this together. So I was really excited to be able to go to San Francisco and just see all the other players representing for their teams and the coaches. So it was an exciting experience. It was really fast, but I learned a lot, and it was cool to be in front of the camera a little bit.
Sam is getting some recognition nationally this year. I mean, we all know who watch the team how important she is, but maybe outside they don't know. What is it like to see her finally get that?
I think last year, just the defensive mentality she had in the tournament, I think it kind of showed to other people what she can do. And I think that her getting that it gives her more confidence, I think, and just being able to play hard. She always plays hard. So I'm just excited for her and to see what she does this season.
So Coach Diaz said that you guys are, you're much better this year, 1 through 15. All talented, all could play a lot here or anywhere else, but minutes are limited. And going into these first couple exhibition games and into practice, you really have to show that you have to earn this time. What is that sort of like? You've always had to earn time, but in the past, Coach Adia only went like 8 or 9 deep. Into the bench, and that's really what she went with. This year she's probably going to play more. What is that like for you, knowing that you could be involved in a lot of different type of looks?
I mean, Coach Adia has always said that you earn your time in practice. She puts the people on at the end of the day that she can trust on the floor. I think there's going to be a lot more people that she can trust. I think we're just super competitive. Obviously, everyone wants to play. And that's the tough part when we get good. You get good people that could start on a different team but may not start here. So I think that's something that is kind of hard for some people. But I think knowing that you're going to come in, you're gonna get minutes to be able to prove yourself, especially here early on. I think that a lot of people have a chance to be able to come out and make a difference. So I think that just being able to work hard and show your skills early on will be really important.
Awesome, thank you, Kate.
Thank you, guys. I expect to see everyone tomorrow.